Hello friends, welcome to your yoga class. Today's class I have a special treat. It is a Halloween inspired, creative, fun short little flow. I hope you'll join me today. This is coming out on Halloween and I hope you enjoy it. We're going to just need our mats today. We're not going to need any props. So just get into something comfy, get into your costume, and let's get started. We're going to begin lying on our backs. So come to lie on your back, whatever way feels comfortable. Your feet can be out to the outer edges or they can be straight out in front of you, coming into a Savasana pose to begin. And just take a moment here, once you're settled, to focus on your breath and bring your awareness to your breathing. Just observe your breath for now. Don't try to force it or change anything. Feel free to close the eyes here for a couple of moments. And start to let that awareness move from the observer into your body, and let that awareness maybe allow you to take deeper, bigger breaths. But again, don't force it. And think about what sensations you're feeling as you inhale. And then what sensations are you feeling as you exhale? Starting off with Savasana or corpse pose. And allow those bigger breaths to bring more life into you, a little bit more energy as we start our yoga class. Just a few more breaths. You can open your eyes and start to walk your feet towards your heels, or towards your hips, sorry. Bring your knees in towards your chest, and then extend the legs, the heels straight up towards the sky, coming into legs up the wall without the wall. If you feel you want to go close to a wall, obviously this is your practice, your choice. You know what's better for you. Feel free. Please don't let me stop you. And from here, you're going to just lift your arms up towards the sky. So some people call this dead bug pose. We're going to stay here for just a couple of minutes, or just a couple of breaths. Flex your toes back towards your face. Send your heels out towards the sky. Keep a little bend in your knees. Ground your sitting bones, ground your low back and your hips to the ground. Let your shoulders stay connected to the ground as well as you reach your fingertips up. And maybe this pose is bringing a little bit of challenge to you. It's maybe a little challenging, or it might actually be bringing a little bit of relaxation to you. It is technically an inversion where your feet are above your heart, and any inversion over time can help stimulate the parasympathetic nervous system and lower blood pressure. So not like it's going to happen right in this one, but it might start to slow your heart rate down. From here, you're going to drop the left foot down, keep the right foot up, drop the left heel down towards the ground as slow as you can, controlled, go as far as you can, and let your right arm back behind you. And then let your left leg, left heel touch the ground. Big inhale, bring in life, bring in some energy. And then exhale to lift both back up. On your next inhale, you're going to start to drop the right foot, and at the same time, start to drop the left arm back behind you. It can get a little confusing here. Slowly and controlled. And then all the way down, exhale, inhale. And on your next exhale, you're going to slowly lift that right leg back up, lift the left arm back up to meet towards center. So a little bit of a core stimulation here. core activation. Drop the left leg, drop the right arm back as you inhale to slowly lower. Exhale to let it all go. One more inhale. And exhale to bring it back up, activating your core. Bring everything back up. Take a big inhale. And then exhale to start to drop your right heel, left hand back. Slow and controlled. Flex and spread those toes wide. Inhale. And then on your next exhale, lift everything back up. It can get a little confusing. And now continue to move here with your own breath. So on the exhales, using that to help activate your core, pulling your belly button in, and then bringing everything down or up. Use the exhales to kind of rest once you get there. Inhale and then exhale back up. Slow and controlled. One more on each side. And then back up. From here, tuck your knees into your chest, roll off to one side, and then push yourself up with your top hand. From here, we're going to move into a cat-cow. So bringing your hands underneath your shoulders, knees underneath your hips, coming into a tabletop, neutral spine, keeping your gaze down. On your next inhale, drop the belly, lift the chest, lift the gaze, lift the tailbone, push away from the mat, pull the shoulders away from the ears. And on the exhale, tuck your chin, tuck your tailbone, and start to round through, coming into a cat pose. So think about a big or a black cat on Halloween. Inhale for cow pose, dropping the belly, lifting the tailbone, pushing away from the mat. And then on the exhale, tuck the tailbone, tuck the chin, round through the upper back, and get that stretch through the upper neck, maybe getting onto your fingertips like a cat. On the inhale, cow pose. And then exhale, cat pose. A couple more times with your own breath. I invite you to maybe explore some hip circles, some figure eights with your hips, or maybe some rib circles. So whatever you kind of want to explore with, move your body in whatever way feels good. And from here, walk your hands up just a little bit. Ground down through all 10 fingertips, especially the pointer finger, knuckle, and thumb. So ground down through those. And then rotate your inner elbows towards the front of the mat. Tuck your toes under. Lift the knees. Inhale, fill up your low belly. And then on the exhale, start to lift the hips for downward facing dog. Lift the hips up high. Bend the knees here. Heels don't have to touch the ground, but they're energetically reaching towards the earth. Press down into the balls of your feet. Spread all 10 toes wide. Lift the tailbone up just a little higher. And maybe take a few moments to pedal out the feet here. If it's your first practice, if not, you can stay in stillness, whatever feels good. We're going to move through a vinyasa. So on the inhale, we're going to drop the hips, bring the shoulders over top of the hands and wrists. Hips almost in line with the shoulders. Inhale. And then option to drop your knees. On the exhale, we'll come all the way down to the ground. Bring your hands back by your ribs. Press your hips into the ground. Press the tops of your feet into the ground. Your forehead can be on the ground here as well. As you're pressing into your hips, press your elbows back towards your heels, and maybe your shoulder blades start to touch. And then start to lift your chest just slightly, little to no weight in your hands, pushing into your hips to help your low back. Pull your belly button up and in to get a little bit more length here, maybe through stretching through the stomach, through the upper belly. And then on your next exhale, just rest your forehead back on the ground. Stay here, and we're actually going to bring our arms out to the sides of our mat, so a little wider than mat width apart, and come onto your fingertips, coming onto spider fingers. Again, little to no weight in those hands, but imagine just being a little spider, light on the feet, light on the legs, On the inhale, lift, reach the elbows up towards the sky this time. You might find a little bit of a different stretch here. And exhale, back down to the ground. Bring your hands underneath your shoulders and push up into tabletop position again. From here, tuck the toes under. Ground down into all 10 knuckles, especially that pointer finger, knuckle, and thumb. Lift the knees, and then lift the hips up for downward facing dog. This time we're going to ground down through that left heel, so left ball of the foot is grounded, and start to lift the right heel up towards the sky. Maybe opening up, maybe doing some knee circles, whatever feels good here. And then level out your hips, toes point down. Bring your right knee in towards your chest, staying in this down dog position, kind of like a werewolf. So imagine yourself as a werewolf getting ready to pounce. From here, you're going to take that right leg over to the left side of the room, so crossing over the left leg, and then lift your right arm up to the sky. Turn on that back foot, coming on to the sole of the foot, onto the outer or inner edge. And then this is coming into a fallen triangle. One more inhale here, lift your hips up high, and then exhale to sit your hips down. So you're coming into this V position. Inhale to lift your arms up towards the sky, bend in your knees just a little bit, and then reach forward. So maybe getting a nice little hip stretch if your knees are bent significantly, or if they're a little more straight, maybe getting a stretch through the back of the hamstrings. Keeping length in your spine, making sure not to round in your back. We're only just going to stay here for one more breath. And then from here, bring your right leg in towards center. So bring your right heel in towards your groin, coming into a Janu Sirsasana kind of pose, but we're not going into that. Place your right hand back behind your hip, so behind you. And then start to lift your hips, coming onto your right shin, coming into a verified or a mini wild thing pose. What is a Halloween flow without wild thing, right? Push your hips forward, squeeze your glutes to help get a little bit more of a stretch through the inner psoas and hip flexors. One more inhale, lift the heart space, and then exhale to sit back down the same way you came in, sitting back over your heel. And then from here, you're going to extend your heel back out, turn towards your mat, and then lift your hips up to bring that right foot back in. So coming and returning to a downward facing dog. Good job. And we're going to do that on the other side. So ground down through the right heel, lift the left heel up towards the sky, and open up a little, maybe doing some hip circles one way, hip circles the other way. And then when you're ready to return to stillness, level out your hips, bring your toes to face down. Bring your left leg in, staying in that down dog position. So almost like a werewolf ready to pounce. One more inhale here, and on the exhale, bring that left foot over to the right side of your mat, maybe a little off. Start to lift the right arm up and then pivot on that back foot, coming onto the inner edge and then placing the sole of the foot down. So a side plank with a little bit of help or assistance from that left foot. Lift your arm up high, lift your hips. One more inhale, and then exhale to sit your hips down. Coming into this V. Flex your toes back, and option to bend the knees just a little or to keep them a little bit more straight. Inhale to reach the arms up overhead. And then on the exhale, start to fold over, start to fold forward, keeping and bending at the hips and not the waist. So maybe keeping your low belly or those hip bones close to those upper thighs as you start to maybe walk your fingertips forward just a little. Focusing and bringing your awareness back to your breath and allowing that awareness to help you take deeper breaths. In and out through the nose. One more inhale. And then exhale to crawl your fingertips back. Bend that left knee and bring the right heel in towards your groin, in towards your pelvic area. Bring your left hand back behind you. Fingertips point towards either the short side of the mat, so wherever that's the front or the back, however you have it. Fingertips are pointing there. And then we're going to lift our hips and come onto the left shin. Left sole of the foot comes onto the ground as we start to lift our heart space up towards the sky, spiraling our chest, spiraling our heart space up. Right arm can go up and back, just kind of wherever feels good. One more inhale here. Squeeze your glutes. Get a little bit more of a stretch, maybe through that left hip flexor or inner psoas. And then exhale to come back down. Sit your hips back down onto the ground. Turn to face the front of your mat, so start to turn the weight same way you came in. Extend the left leg out. Pivot on that back foot and then lift your hips and slide that leg back under, returning to a downward facing dog. From here, bend your knees deeply. Maybe your torso comes to touch. Maybe you walk your feet up a little bit. Start to look up towards the front of the room, lifting the hips, coming onto your tippy toes, and then just tiptoe your feet up to meet the backs of your hands. It's almost like you're sneaking around or trying to hide from someone, very slow tiptoeing. And once you're here, coming into forward fold, bring your feet either hip width apart or a little bit more. And then option to grab opposite elbows for ragdoll. Start to maybe move or swing a little bit from side to side, but keeping that movement small. Ground down through all four corners of each of the feet. Spread the toes wide. Keep your feet grounded, but energetically pull the heels out towards the outer edges of the mat to maybe help activate your glutes. And then start to lift your heart space, lifting your torso, keeping your gaze down, coming and lifting up to mountain pose, Tadasana. From here, you're going to step your right foot towards the back of the mat and then turn to see me. So turn to the side of the mat. We're going to come into a goddess pose and then a few variations from that. So bring your feet, your toes to face 45-degree angle, maybe the outer corners of your mat here. Your feet are wider than hip width apart, maybe a leg's width apart. And then start to bend into both knees, coming into a squat, trying to lower the hips to come level with the knees. But wherever you are, maybe you're at 45-degree angle with your thighs, that's perfectly fine. It's still very strong and very challenging. So from here, inhale, lift the arms up overhead. And then on the exhale, bring your arms to cactus arms. Squeeze your shoulder blades together back behind you. Try to reach your elbows forward and your fingertips back just a little. And exhale to release. One more time. Inhale, bring your arms up towards the sky. And exhale for cactus arms. Lift the chest. And then release. From here, we're going to so stay there, but bring your fingertips on the ground. So maybe you're bending a little bit more into it with the support of your fingertips. Feel free to move your feet in or out to whatever feels more comfortable. But once your hands are on the ground, flip onto the backs of your hands. Very little weight on your hands. And bring your right hand over, a little more over towards the left side, and then bring your left arm to cross over. So we're kind of getting into this cross-armed goddess pose. And then you drop your head. And I like to call this spider pose. It just reminds me of spider legs, spider arms. Straighten out the legs and stand up. Come all the way up. Get a little rest through the legs. And option to do that one more time. Otherwise, you can just stay here. Bend the legs, inhale. And then on the exhale, we're actually going to take it down instead of cactus arms. And then crossing the arms. On the inhale, one more time, bring the arms up. And then this time, cross the opposite arm in front. And then straighten out, come all the way up to the top. Bring your hands to your hips. Turn to face the back side of your mat just to get a little bit even there. We did a high lunge on the other side, and then step forward. From here, bring your feet out a little bit wider than your hips, but not as wide as they were previously. And then start to bend into your hips. So coming into almost like a wide-legged chair. Start to bend, sit back into your hips, bend your knees, keeping your knees on top of your ankles, pressing down through all 10 toes, the balls of the feet, the big toe mound, and the heel of the foot. Extend your arms straight out in front of you. Option interlace your fingers. And it almost seems like you're reaching your hips towards the back, reaching your fingertips towards the front, finding a little balance there, coming into this bear pose. One more inhale, stay strong. And then exhale to drop your hips towards your heels. Maybe you come onto your toes here, maybe you come off of your heels. But coming into a garland pose, Malasana. Taking a few moments to reconnect with your breath. Your heels can be lifted here, arms can be on the ground. Try to bring your knees in towards your elbows and then push your elbows out towards your knees. Having that little bit of energy happening, activation happening through the hips. And then push. Knees are pushing in, elbows are pushing out. Again, option to keep your hands on the floor, or you can bring them up to Anjali Mudra, bringing your thumbs to your sternum or to your heart center. Reach the crown of the head up towards the sky and relax your shoulders down away from your ears. One more inhale, reconnecting with your breath, slowing down your breath. And then exhale to bring your hands out in front of you. Walk and lean forward, bring your knees on the ground, coming into a sort of tabletop position. But from here, feel free to send your hips back towards your heels, knees wide as the mat, coming into a wide child's pose, or option to bring the knees together. Bring your forehead to the ground and descend or paint your fingertips back towards your heels and your back toes, rounding through your upper back. And if none of those are comfortable for you, feel free to take whatever variation you'd like. Taking a few final moments here to focus on your breath again. Focus on slowing down your breathing. And then just observing what's going on with your breath. The breath is so important, and it's so interesting how it changes so much and how we can change so much with it. Focus on any areas that might be feeling any sensations or any tension. And try to use these last few final breaths to inhale into those sensations, into those areas, filling them up with air, new life, new energy. And then on your exhales, focus on relaxing or softening through those areas. Maybe letting any tension just slide right off, or exhale with the exhales. And when you're ready, start to crawl yourself back up, finding a seated position. Meeting me in a cross-legged position or with one leg in front of the other. Bring your hands to touch, bring your palms to touch, and bring your thumb to heart center. Anjali Mudra. Option to close the eyes here. We're just going to spend a couple more minutes with the breath. So take one big inhale, filling up your entire low belly, your entire torso, all four sides. Take one more inhale, one more sip of breath. And exhale, let it all go through the nose, slow and controlled. Try to expel all the air out. Maybe just try to exhale a little bit more than what you thought you could. On your next inhale, breathe in through the nose. Inhale in, filling up your belly and then your chest. Hold it. Take another sip of air if you can. And then slowly exhale it all out. One more time. Inhale, expanding all 4 sides of the torso, especially those sides. And then inhaling in through the chest. And then holding the breath. One more sip of air. And exhale. Feel free to just exhale out through your mouth now if you'd like. But that's it. So I hope that you really enjoyed this Halloween-inspired flow with some goddess poses, a spider pose, spider fingers, bear poses, werewolf poses, and then wild thing poses. Those are my favorites. So I'm hoping that brought a little bit of inspiration, a little bit of fun into your Halloween, and maybe share this with anyone who you think might enjoy it. If you like this video, leave me a comment and let me know how it goes for you. And also don't forget to subscribe to my channel just so you're updated on all my new yoga videos and content. Thank you so much, friends. I hope to see you again next time. Sending love and light from my heart to yours.